feel like what we did together in a year's time, I'll value more than like anything that I've, done in the past. Like it's just beautiful to like build with real people that actually care about, not money, but actually making something that can change the landscape, the future of self-custody, because that's why we're here.
Welcome to the ATX DAO podcast, the hub for exploring the forefront of blockchain technology in Austin's Web3 community. We connect you with innovators within ATX DAO and beyond as we venture into the world of decentralized technology. So crack open a beer and join us for a front row seat to learn about the innovations and trends shaping our digital future. This is the ATX DAO podcast. Well, welcome everyone to the ATX DAO podcast. Ash and I are very excited to welcome a special guest. We have Michael from Consensys with us. Michael, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here with you guys. I set my alarm for 5:30 in the morning out here in South Korea, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss this. So really appreciate you guys.
100%.
The commitment that you're showing to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and it's like you're lucky you say you don't drink, but it's still like I bet it's exhausting with like the time zone difference and everything. I bet you're just like, holy shit, this better be.
Dude, it was a 28-hour flight, 28-hour flight from Florida. So it was definitely not fun when it comes to trying to get through that. But I'm actually going to also be going to Singapore for Token 2049, and I was just talking to Luke before you hopped on. Instead of flying back and forth to the U.S. and racking up almost 120 hours of flight time, I'm just going to be staying out here and then hitting Token 2049. So, no, it's definitely an honor to be here with y'all.
That's so dope, dude. I'm so excited for you. I would love to also hear about Korea Blockchain Week, but I just want to firstly hear about you. And I'm sure Luke would be like, how did you guys meet? So
absolutely, I need to hear it.
Yeah. Mike, you gotta tell our serendipitous love story that was organized by Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Inu. Harry Potter merch, man, uniting the crypto bros together.
Yeah. I mean, that backpack, when I wear it, like I've been wearing it a few days out here in KBW, and the amount of people that come up to you and are like, dude, sick backpack, right? Like, are you part of the team? Like, are you the creator? Right? And I'm like, nah, I'm just, I just have a backpack. Like, this is, I love rocking NFT merch. I love communities. I love, NFT projects and also, just vibing and being in a space where everyone's building together. So, I was at an event, and I was standing there, and I think you were talking with a group of people, right? Like you were talking with like 2 or 3 people at the same time. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, you were like, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you wearing there? And I'm like Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, like every time I say it, it's like the longest thing in the world. And then we connected, man. It was awesome. And I think this was before, or right at the time that we got acquired. And I had let you know about it, and it was really fresh, because so far it's only been 2 months, and it's insane how fast time goes by. But it was really great to connect with you at that event and see what you guys are doing with Doggy, and it's just awesome. It's just amazing to find other builders in the space.
Yeah, dude, it was so crazy. It was exactly like you said. The only difference is that like I was high off my ass on basically dealing with like Dayquil like throughout that entire time. So I'm like falling sick because it's like, we have to go to like 50 different events. We're like going to the conference, we're meeting people there, and I'm just like wrecked. And this is a day where I'm just like, Dayquil seems to be an ongoing problem during conference season for me because it's like everyone is falling sick, so you need to like pop up that zinc and magnesium count and like vitamin C and Dayquil, right? And I met this dude, and he had this backpack is like dope as fuck. Like honestly, I need to fly.
Actually, let's bring it.
Oh, nice. Let's check it out,
dude.
Yeah,
dude. It's pretty legit, man. Like I was like, dude, I would love to have that swag. Like honestly, I went to the Harry Potter party during Consensys with an S, not with a Y. But like that being said, they were giving out like Letterman jackets for Harry Potter. I didn't see the backpack, but like, bro, I have this T-shirt. I need to start rocking that T-shirt now more often. But it is
Oh,
that's how we
you got
met.
a Harry Potter Obama Sonic T-shirt.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Both me and Rashad went to that party, and that's how I was like, bro. One of the people that's like, works like, like a huge advisor and like helper to us is
Mm,
a huge supporter of Harry Potter, and I was like, bro, like this is legendary that we're meeting.
right,
And yeah,
right.
congratulations also on your company being acquired.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
What's crazy about that too is like, one of our friends from the DAO, Ryan from Sphere, who's also in ETX DAO.
Yeah.
We had a DAO meeting yesterday. He was like, dude, I know one of the other guys from WalletGuard. I think he's in Austin too. And he's like, if you need someone from Consensys to talk to, I'm like, yeah, sure, but I know a bunch of
Yeah.
people there. And he's like, oh, it's from WalletGuard. I was like, dude, I know the guy from WalletGuard. And so it's just a small world. But like,
Yeah.
either way, man, congratulations. That's so awesome for you guys to build this thing. I would love to hear about that too. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. It was really cool to actually, like, run into Omen Martin in a Twitter space, like about 2.5 years ago. And I've been in cybersecurity my whole life. I love IT. I love hardware, software. And after I exited Web 2 cybersecurity, I was jumping into Web 3, and I noticed that no one was talking about security, right? Like everyone on the timeline's talking about getting drained and clicking on the bad link, or losing their assets, but no one's talking about how to prevent it. And when I saw the title of the space, it was like Web3 Security Radio. I was like, yo, I'm jumping in. Like, let's talk security. And it was really cool because they let me up on stage. We were talking about Web 2, Web 3. And then after the space went down, they shot me a DM and they said, hey, like, we really like what you're saying. We want to make you a brand ambassador. And I was like, of course, like I'll definitely represent, like help spread the word and get the information out there. And for me, it wasn't about money. It was just like a knowledge resource. It was an unpaid position, and I was happy to do it. And then after about 6 months of doing that, they contacted me again and they said, we want to give you a full-time job. We want to give you a full-time position as partnership director. And I was like, of course, like I'm definitely down to take this. And right around that time is when we all decided, like logically, it makes more sense to move to one location so we could like hyper scale the application. We don't have to be in 5 different places all across the world at different time zones trying to get this thing going. And I mean, when you're able to find 5 people that are willing to do that, I feel like you could build and do anything.
Yeah.
So we chose Austin, Texas as our home base, and we did it, man. We executed. We moved right in from day one. We started to set up a game plan, a roadmap, and putting in 24/7 into this thing. We originally started as just a link checker. Like you could copy paste a link and see, hey, this is malicious. But then we started doing wallet drainer kit detection, transaction simulation, the security dashboard, approvals dashboard, soft locking assets, and we're pumping these things out with only a team of 5. And we're also building in public and doing very grassroots organic marketing. Like it's a win-win to talk about WalletGuard, right? Like a lot of projects talk about chief vibes officer and before they even think about security. So let WalletGuard be that chief security officer for your project. It's a win-win. There's nothing to lose. So we were able to really take over that market, and it's just amazing. Big shout out to the team, Martin, John, Jacob. Like, I've there's people in my life, that I've met, and from school and stuff like that. Like I'm almost 36 years old at this point, and I feel like what we did together in a year's time, I'll value more than like anything that I've done in the past. Like it's just beautiful to like build with real people that actually care about not money, but actually making something that can change the landscape, the future of self custody, because that's why we're here.
That's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's awesome. I feel like that itself is a clip right there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like all from starting from a Twitter space to like, I just love that story. Like just seeing how you were able to get to build something like that. The commitment from the team, just all of it was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
and it's dope that you also all navigated to Austin. I was just curious, like, wait, is the is like was a majority of the team in Austin? Is that why? Because you're a Jersey guy
No,
originally, right?
well, originally I was born in Armenia, and then I
Okay.
moved to New York for most of my life. Started up those IT businesses there. So I was in Florida at the time. Uh,
Ah,
and Jacob was, I believe, in Cali. John was in Australia. uh Ohm and Martin were in Ohio. So like we're spread out, right? Like we're all over the place. So we said, what would be logically the best place to build this, and based on the up and coming crypto culture in Texas, and also the cost of getting something that would be efficient for what we're doing. I mean, instead of like all of us paying rent separately, like what would be the difference if we combined it and,
yeah,
even saved more money, but also had a much larger place. And that's why it was logical, to execute on that. Obviously now we're all back remote, as we're at Consensys, but at the time it just made sense. Westlake Hills, picking out like, a pretty big place to to spend our days in. And I personally think that if you have enough space for yourself, right, like it's a lot easier. And can I tell you that like not once in a year and a half did we have an argument about anything, right? Like
Wow.
usually when people live together, like
yeah.
there's certain things like, oh yeah, why isn't this cleaned up? Like not one time did anybody argue about anything. And it was such a great, like, like such a great feeling to be with them in one place.
That's so awesome. I'm so happy that you guys picked Austin. Like I always said this publicly. It's just that like I love Canada, being a Canadian, but also I'm American. And people ask me where I'm from. I'm like, dude, I'm from Texas. I declare myself as an American. Secondly to that, right? Like Texas is fantastic, and Austin itself, like you said, man. Like I just feel like there's this weird vibe here where it feels like almost like Palo Alto, like circa 1980s, circa 90s, right? Like shit hasn't even popped off yet, but like you can see that there's like switched on minds, like pinging ideas off of each other, and the vibes feel right. The vibes are like, I feel like the city and the culture is like, yo, let's kind of shack up in this house, like you said in Westlake, and then be like, bro, let's just like chill here and just work here and just churn work out. Let's just like get
Yeah,
it out, and
yeah,
that's you need to have like a city and a culture that also does that, but like you need to also have that culture within the team and the people. And I'm glad that you guys, you know, did it out of here. I'm a little, I'm a little, yeah, I have a soft spot for that. I have a soft spot for people from Texas, but I have a soft spot for people from Austin, of course, So it's a great thing,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. No, and it was really great meeting Jen and everyone from ATX DAO, and seeing what y'all are doing. And it's just great, like great community, great culture, and real people. It's really hard to find people that actually care about what they're doing. And I think in Web3 it's a little different. Obviously there's like the whole side of Web3, which is like a bunch of scammers, grifters, and larpers, but then there's like the
Yeah,
people that are actually building and like showing face and doing it in public. And they build up a good reputation. And if you find those people, like it's an ultimate win. Everyone supports each other, and that's what ATX DAO is really good at doing.
dude, that's another glowing fucking endorsement, bro. We should have you. We should make that a clip and put that on our Twitter now. Yeah.
Let's go.
Consensus backs ATX down. That's what I. That's
Whoa,
what the
whoa,
headline
whoa,
is.
whoa. Can't back anything like that.
Dude,
Yeah, yeah.
in for a
Be
penny, in
careful.
for a pound, bro. Come on,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
make it happen.
It's community.
Uh,
It's community, right?
exactly, yeah. So, but no, that's awesome, man. Like, yeah, we do have something special here, and I think that it's a great chance that we get to share with people, and also like the podcast is like a blessing, really. Like, it's really funny. Like, my wife was telling me that, like, hey, like how it is running a startup. You may not have arguments, but there are days when you're up, and there are days that you're down, right? And that's why it's so great to have co-founders and like teammates that are like, yo, like we're in this shit together and we're in the trenches together, bro. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can have a down day. It's okay, right? I'm
Right.
gonna go more up for you and we're gonna do this, right? And I was having a
Yeah.
terrible day yesterday. Fucking terrible. Dude. Like Well, like I had like 10 calls. I missed 2 customer interviews because of some other like
Ooh,
random integration bullshit. And then after that,
yeah.
my Jeep broke down when I took my dog, Bear, who, those of you who don't know, before they started recording, he took a piss in the kitchen. I walked in that piss, and that's why I'm late. I don't think I even cleaned it off properly. There's probably like piss somewhere in between my web toes, which is even grosser. Like, but that being said, like, I
And
just
you
took
had
it to
to make it to the
PetSmart.
cast. You're like, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I didn't even get there. I was just like, fuck it. It's just what it is now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna live with it. But at the PetSmart, like literally, the Jeep broke down, and I was like, fuck my life. Like, and then that evening, I had to go get dressed up and go to like some nice thing. So I had to like comb my hair and put on a collared shirt, which I don't do. I hate doing. But like, it was just a terrible fucking day. And then Rashad, my co-founder, was like, bro, I got you. We're gonna I'm gonna tackle a bunch of this shit. Um, my wife literally was talking about this morning, right? She was talking about the idea of like showing gratitude for things because like you should be grateful for the fact that hey, you have others in your life that you work with or are friends that can like pick you up when you're down. But also like I think about this podcast as like one of those things I'm grateful for because like it's so cool because like you know the idea is for us it was just like hey we can just have cool dudes and we just talk to them but like it's also now become a platform for people like you who are not only sharing the current story but your past as well of like how you guys did this at WalletGuard. So I feel like there's a little secret of the secret recipe of like building a successful startup is like drip fed like between these
Yeah.
podcasts. And like this is one of
Yeah.
them, right? Like shack up in a fucking house and then just go ship. Like just find your Austin or find Austin and literally get a place and then
You're like,
just
come to
build your entire
Austin
team
and
there.
then get.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come to Michael's old house in
Yeah.
Westlake
Yeah.
Hills. It may have current occupants, but if you ask nicely, you might join their startup. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. Part of it is also sharing information, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love educating people, and not only when it comes to security, but also business. I've been in multiple successful startups and exits. I've managed my own companies. I've had teams of people, and I was actually ran into someone yesterday at the bus stop as I was waiting for an Uber, and the Uber was taking a long time. It kept on getting canceled. And the person that was sitting at the bus stop was like, "Hey, is your Uber getting canceled too?" And we started to just talk and have a conversation. And he was a little younger than me, but it was really cool because I gave him insight on like what I've already been through. Right, like I would rather tell someone like my failures and my successes and like what to look out for because I've been through it so that they can kind of have like the upper hand when they approach a situation. And I feel like that's the best feeling in the world to be able to educate people. Like I
Yeah.
never asked for anything in return. I love talking about, ways to, start a business or keep something going or, attack a certain situation. And especially with like cybersecurity education, that's my forte. So like anytime that I do that, like it's worth millions of dollars to me just for the fact that someone is listening. And when I have these conversations with people in the space, different conferences, we end up talking for an hour or 2 hours or whatever the case is. It's amazing that like a year later, 2 years later, they're hitting me up and they're like, "Hey, thank you. That like changed my life." Like, and like those types of comments make it all worth it, right? Like at the end of the day, like I'm not here to just extract value. I'm here to provide value because I know it's going to come right back around. And it's just amazing because there's been times in the space where people hit me up and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come and speak on our Twitter space." And we're gonna talk about we want you to talk about security with our users, and we want you to help us stay secure. And I'm like, cool. I'll create all the curate all the content and get it all ready for you. And then they're like, yeah, we have a large audience. We usually charge $5,000 for people to speak, but we'll charge you 2,000. And I'm like, you're gonna charge me to come and bring value to like I don't understand like is this about money or is this about sharing unlimited value and knowledge, right? Like why are we here? Because you can
Yeah.
have your short burst of $1,000, but like you're probably going to spend it over the weekend somewhere and then you're going to move on to the next thing. I'm not about people moving on to the next thing. I'm not about doing one and done. I want to build relationships, and that's how we get to the point that we're at now. We had champions of our product because we created those relationships. And unless you're doing that, I think it's very, very hard to get to a point where people really understand the product and are basically out there doing the referral and a lot of the heavy lifting for you, because organic reach is the best reach. Referrals are the best form of advertisement, not paying just to get a name out there.
That's so true. Like, holy shit. Like that itself, that's another clip right there for like you to like, yeah, when you're trying to like build your product or your startup, like that's the way you should really think about it. Like I
That's
always really find this hilarious too. Like a couple of times I've gotten these Twitter DMs too. It's like, hey, it'd be great for you to come on here, and then they unnecessarily middleman you by paying you to like go speak to their audience, and I'm like, bro, like why? Like I'll just give it to
yeah,
them for free. Like
yeah,
you don't need the money because I'm betting you're running this on other people. I'm just gonna give you whatever you want from me from free, and
right,
then you guys can
right.
figure out. You have the building blocks. You guys can build whatever you want. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, there's been times where I've been invited, and I'm like, yeah, I'll cover my costs. I'll fly out there and talk and whatever. And then I see that they're charging like they're charging people to come to listen. And I like message them and I'm like, hey, not doing it. Like,
Yeah.
this is for free. Like, we're giving free education. We're giving out this knowledge for free. I don't think knowledge should be token gated. I don't think it should cost any money, right? Like,
Yeah.
something that I want to do later on in my life, like, after everything with Consensys and stuff like that, like, I want to be able to teach people. I want to be able to just go wherever I want to go, and as long as there's one person listening, it's worth it for me. And like,
Yeah.
that is worth way more than money will ever be worth. Money is completely fucking worthless at this point. Like,
That's
it brings
awesome.
no fucking value. So
That's beautiful, man. Like I really think before this started recording, you mentioned this thing like, hey, I have a mission for like promoting self custody. You're like, this is my purpose. This is like my North Star. Um, so like post WalletGuard, like you mentioned that you guys got acquired by Consensys, and now you have taken on a different role where you've, I guess in a way, it is kind of like a partnership role, but it's like a more like kind of like formalized role of like looking at like things from a consensus point of view. I would love to hear about that transition, what that role is, and like how are you going about like what is your things, your wants and wishes from this role at Consensus?
yeah, yeah. So with WalletGuard, it was BD partnership director, and now going to a company that's much larger. I was put into the position of senior business development manager, and it's my bread and butter. Like, I love making connections. I love going out there, building in public, showing face. I'm a master networker, if I would say so myself. I would assume that if people were to see my game plan and how I execute at different conferences, and a formula to it, they would agree as well. So it's just really, it's a big transition because we're going from a team of 5 to a company of over 800 people. And
Wow.
it's also a big transition because now the name Consensys and MetaMask are attached, and that opens a lot of doors, which is great, right? Like, being able to like DM anybody, like cold DM, and just be like, hey, let's hop on a call, and they're gonna probably hop on a call because they see Consensys and MetaMask, which is awesome. But it's definitely a big transition, but it's one that like I embraced. Prior to WalletGuard, I managed an IT company, had multiple employees as well. A lot of it was managed business and managed service provider roles, as well as residential customers. So I kind of look at it the same way now. Like, we have a user base, and we also have the people that we deal with, the vendors, the integrations, different companies that we're trying to collaborate with in order to add more value to the product. We also don't believe in that, like, having a single source of failure. So the fact that we're able to have aggregation and multiple security tools as part of the equation, and also multiple different providers as part of the equation when it comes to different parts of the product, is a massive win. So I'm always out there looking for the next best thing. And I think that's like part of what a BD should be doing, right? Like a BD should never be stagnant. They should never think that, oh, everything is done. I'm done with my day. It's never done, right? Like if you're a good BD, you're constantly moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And, I'm happy that I'm young and I, knock on wood, still got the energy to go out there and network for 14, 16 hours straight, come home, sleep for 2 hours and hop on a podcast and act like it's nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool. It's awesome. It's a great transition, but I've had a lot of experience from prior businesses and also at WalletGuard to kind of build up this collab board of people that I already know like are building amazing tools in the space and that I can introduce and say, hey, maybe this is someone that we should tap into. Maybe this is, someone we should consider speaking with. And that's how you build, right? You create those connections. And if I meet someone and, it's not necessarily something for me, I'm going to remember them. And if someone else mentions anything, I'm going to connect them with that person. Right. So doing all of that, at the end of the day, like they're probably going to do the same for you, right? Like if they hear that you're looking for grants programs, so you can connect them with developers. When they run into someone that's offering a grant program, I'm getting a DM, right? I'm getting that contact, and this is to the point where you kind of build up a relationship with so many different moving parts in the space, right? Because there's so many different types of products and different types of communities that like anyone is available at your fingertips at any moment. And like that's like the best feeling in the world.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
Like, and one of the things I'm picking up just across like themes in general too is just you're helping people, whether you're helping people to build with you, helping people to connect with each other, or what you were doing previously with education. It's just like everything that you're doing is with the intent to help, which is I just think awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like I said before, it is the best feeling in the world when someone says, thank you. That really helped me out. And I'll do it. I'll do it. Like, look, if you're hosting a Twitter space and I jump in and there's one listener, I'm talking the same way as if there's 1,000 people there. The message is the same, and consistency is super important. And if anyone checks out my LinkedIn, like I'm not like in one company for 1 month and another company for another month. Like what I do, I have conviction in, and I make sure to execute it to the point where it's like gets to a successful exit or a successful acquisition or a merger or whatever the case is. So that's a different type of mentality than a lot of people have.
Yeah.
That's special. It's really funny that you talk about this conviction. Like when we were, so me and Rashad had the opportunity to go to a conference recently. We met this guy who wrote this book. Who's like a legendary like Web2 VC. He was like I think first money into Lyft, first money into Masari, right? Like
Mm.
I forget his name. I think it's like Frank Maples or something like that. He runs this like huge firm. The book's called Pattern Breakers, and we had a chance to like just a chance meeting just to like chit chat with him for like 20, 30 minutes, which is like this guy's like a billionaire, right? Like he's
Yeah,
Joseph Lubin status, like he's like
yeah,
legend, bro.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
and like he said one of the craziest things and the hardest things it is to like find people in your startup journey, right? Because 0 to 1 is super hard, that, right? Like going find
Yeah,
people, like
yeah.
that's small, but it's still like kind of like you want 5 pipe hitters there. Like everyone is a sixth man, but everyone is a domain. Like they're like a point guard and a shooting guard, and they're gonna play center. They're doing everything. You know,
Yeah,
but
that's
they
one of
also
the
are
things,
like
just real quick. That's one of
yeah,
the things that we would tell people, like, we're a team of five, but we
yeah.
work like a team of 20 people. Like, we're no one, we're untouchable. And if everyone has that feeling in the company, like, you are untouchable. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, that's brilliant because I feel like that's the way we're realizing it too. Because we're in that journey. We just hired another person, so we just expanded our team. Originally, it was me and Rashad. Then we took on another third guy, Mac, and now another guy, Carol. Like, so it's now our team of 4, right? But like,
Mm.
one of the crazy things, and I think that you guys nailed it perfectly. He said that he's like the most important thing. He's like you're gonna be sifting through qualified candidates anyways. He's like, you're gonna be giving them an assignment. Maybe they'll complete the assignment. They won't complete the assignment. They may be great at the assignment. But the most important thing when you're recruiting at that 0 to 1 stage is like, can you infect them with your crazy? They have to be mission driven and they have to have that conviction to want to pursue this mission. because if they don't, they will never grow with the company. You'll see that immediately, and they could be, in fact, a problem to your culture in that 0 to 1 phase. So it's like really amazing. I think that like WalletGuard is just hearing you talk for this, and you can tell that you have this infectious energy even in when we met in that conference in Nashville. Like, dude, like you have this energy or you have conviction. You're like all in. There's no halfsies. Like I'm not half-assing anything. I'm a whole-assing this whole one thing. You know,
Yeah,
if I can
yeah,
whole-ass
yeah,
one thing, I'm going all the fucking way. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of beautiful, right? Like because it's like that's an
yeah,
ideal kind of candidate to have that 0 to 1. So Wildcard was really lucky to find that. Like it's a really hard thing to find. Trust me, because like we were looking for like 2 months until we found
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So like it's special, man. That's really since you mentioned conviction and that's an attitude driven thing. That's a very special thing because it's like very
Yeah.
easy to just come up and show up for the paycheck and show up for the
Right,
shits and
right, right.
giggles. You know.
Right, yeah. The last thing you want is a bunch of people showing up for a paycheck. And what you just said reminded me of you guys know the Killer Whales, the crypto Shark Tank TV show. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was on episode 4, the security episode, and we were one of the only projects that got a swim from all 5 of the whales. So
Oh wow.
it was quite an experience. But watching all the episodes in the show, some of the questions that they would ask, and they would do the same thing on like Shark Tank is, what do you do? Like, what's your day to day? Like, do you have another job or whatever the case is? And when people would mention like, oh, I do this on the side or whatever, like that's an immediate no for me, right? Like I need someone that's going to come through and be like, I'm putting 110% into this. I believe in this 110%. If you don't have 110% into what you're doing, why do you expect me to? Right?
Yeah.
Like that's why when I meet people at these conferences and I hear the same passion in their voice that is the same way that when I'm speaking, and they're not just like, mumbling a 60-second prerequisite, like same copy paste of what they're talking with everybody, and they actually like show that conviction, right? Like that me and you are talking about. Um,
Yeah.
that's the people I want to connect with. I want to connect with people that are like 1,000% into what they're doing. They actually understand the industry, they understand the product, and it's not just like a shill, right? Like the last thing I want to hear is like you coming up to me and shilling me. Like I don't do that. That's not how I network. I come up to
Yeah.
you and I say, "What are you building?" I want to know what you're doing, right? Like explain to me in 1 to 2 sentences what you do, and then the conversation stems from that point, right? So
Yeah.
um, can I just give like a quick tip for people that are out there that are trying to get into people's DMs and
100%.
inboxes? Okay,
Please.
do not send like 6 paragraphs of text. That is like an instant turn off, right? Like if I'm asking you, or like we're connecting and like you're giving me like a little refresh after the conference and whatever the case is, like don't give me some cookie cutter blanket response, or some massive essay to read. Like I'm not going to read it. I'm probably going to just like say, oh great, sounds good, and close out. Like I'll respond, right? Like I never leave people on red. But you know come up with a solid and simple and short and sweet understanding of really what you're doing, and don't overcomplicate it. I think one of the reasons why WalletGuard was so successful was because of our message. A lot of security tools, what they would do, their pitch would be, oh well, we do advanced phishing detection and transaction simulation. People already fell asleep, guy. Like no one cares about that, right? So like, give it to me straight. So the degen terminology of what we said was, don't raw dog the blockchain, use WalletGuard, right? And the one that we were advertising publicly was protect your crypto.
Yeah.
Short, simple, sweet. Anyone that's not even in crypto could like wrap their head around protecting your crypto, right? So that's how you win. You minimize your message, make it short and concise. And this way you could really tap into people, because it is an intention economy and people are moving very quickly and they want to understand quickly what you're doing. So that's one piece of advice that I could drop for people that are out there doing BD or trying to get into, get a response from different companies or KOLs or people in the space that are building.
That's so valuable. Like attention is like such a like huge like problem in just Web two. In Web three, we also have this problem of incentivization along with attention, right? Like it's like even our liquidity and our capital is like, hey, you have to incentivize me to provide your capital. So it's like, how much yield are you giving up? What are you doing? And like this boils it down, and you can kind of see this in the actions. But you're right. It's like make it short, make it sweet, make it tight, and like that's what'll like really resonate with people. Um,
Right.
dude, like I feel like there's like a gold mine of clips. Like I'm just gonna come back
Yeah.
here and be like, I'm gonna have to listen to this over and over again and be like, when I come back and think about BD and I think about like comms and messaging, I'm gonna come back to this conversation.
Appreciate
But I
it.
Yeah.
gotta ask this other question though. Like, you see, like, so you know, Consensys raised like something like 450 million, and they're like a $7 billion company, which is like insane, right? And they basically incubated $2 billion projects. One of them, MetaMask, the other one, Infura, right? Um, and shout out to Infura because if it wasn't for Adrian from Dallas and Infura, he wouldn't have connected me to the people at MetaMask. I wouldn't have never met Mario, Christian, and you. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
No, big
So
shout
that's
out to them.
great
Big
that there's
shout out.
this. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that there's this cross pollination between these two gigantic $1 billion companies, which is crazy to
Yeah,
think about, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't really know very many Web2 companies that cross pollinate that way, right? But like now there's this thing where it's like, WalletGuard is like Consensys has gotten acquisitions where like, hey, this is a great company. We see there's a great culture here. They've built a great tool and a great brand. We should build them and incorporate them into the Consensys like world and umbrella, right? So do you feel like now there is a plethora of products in BD that you're like, hey, now we have products for seed stage startup. We have products for an institutional startup. We have products for an existing kind of an SME kind of business. Like, how do you navigate that? Because like, I bet your product stack is like, bro, it's like insane, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think like it's funny talking about like the acquisition and seed rounds and stuff like that. Big shout out to Ohm. Ohm put so much time and energy into like getting the connections and like making sure everything was understood by both sides. And he's a freaking legend. Like you know, he's 10 years younger than me, right? Like, so I can only imagine where he's going to take what he's doing, right? We're building at Consensys now, but what the future holds, I mean, even if it's still at Consensys, it's going to be amazing. Um,
That's awesome.
I think a lot of it has to do with organization, right? Like you have to be organized. You have to understand like what your daily is and how to like execute on those different calls and different plays that you're going to be doing when it comes to funding or getting getting uh, some sort of connection with another VC or another agency. I think what a lot of companies do incorrectly is that, or not necessarily incorrectly, but one of the big questions that we got when we were doing our pre-seed round and our series is, when token, right? Like when token, like, and at the end of the day, it was like, what's a token going to do?
Yeah.
It's going to provide some free money for people. It's going to bring some it's going to generate some revenue for not necessarily the company itself, but like people that are just like trying to liquidate us or like airdrop farmers or whatever the case is. So like when token, the answer was like never, because we believe that if we build a good product, everything else is going to be natural, right? So don't what I would say, like one piece of advice is like don't get cornered, right? Like if you have a game plan and like a token is not part of that game plan, don't launch a token just to make someone else happy, because that you might actually end up shooting yourself in the foot. Your community might say, oh wow, like they just launched this and it's already rugging their product. Like their product now is seen in a different light, and that's the last thing you want, is to like affect your existing user base. And I want to give a big shout out to our user base. We still, obviously, the WalletGuard extension, you can still download it right now. It's free. It's open source. It lets you protect your crypto. It's not a wallet. You don't got to change anything you're doing, but we will warn you about it. But big shout out to our users. Like we love the fact that our users grew with us, and every step of the way they agreed with what we were doing, and we never really like, because of VCs or because of different plays we were doing, they never looked at us and said, oh wow, this changes the sentiment of what they think of what we're doing, right? So That's a few different tips I could give. Like, you really want to be able to, like, stay on a game plan, on track with what you're doing. And at the end of the day, like, a token play might just not be the right way to do it, right? Like, it just might not even affect your product in a positive light. And if you're doing it like that, we did it regardless, right? Like, we didn't have to do a token in order to get to the point that we were at. So a lot of VCs, sorry that you couldn't use us for exit liquidity.
That's awesome that you guys stuck to the guns. I know that's a continuing pressure. I think that we all know that. Like me, I think me and Luke, like it's funny because we're at the DAO. We're all like builders, or they're VCs, or they're getting out their core team at projects, and like the token conversations at everyone's lips, right? But tokens are synonymous with exit liquidity in a lot of projects, right? And I'm glad that you guys didn't succumb to that. You built a product that's like stands on its own merits, that it's like, hey, this is a good product. It helps me navigate the complicated and confusing landscape of crypto, whether I'm a noob or an expert. That's pretty special, right? Because that's like
Yeah.
true user retention, right? There's no incentivized mechanics for it.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
but my question was like, dude, it's kind of like you guys are turning into like the Google of crypto, right? Like Consensys is turning into the Google of crypto, right? Like, how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
manage that? Like, you have like, dude, like, there's Sergey Brin, and like, Larry Page is effectively Joseph Lubin in this scenario, right? And
Yeah.
like, you have now this whole vast thing that you can navigate, which is like, it's like such a privileged position. We were talking about privileged positions earlier. Like, what do you feel like, hey, this is the product that I think like at Consensys will be super cool for just like startups? Like, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of us that are running like 0 to 1 startups. Like, you'd be like, this is it. Like, come check this out, and this is why you should check this out. Like, what gets
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a few things, and this is like why the drastic difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is like so important, because in Web 2 it really is closed off, right? Like, it's everything's behind closed doors, and you're not really like publicly building, like we were talking about before. So what I love that Consensys and MetaMask and what we're doing is that we're opening the door for developers to come and build with us. We want to connect developers with different grant programs. We want them to be able to build directly inside of MetaMasks with the MetaMask Snaps platform. A lot of people don't even know that MetaMask Snaps exist. You could enable support for different chains and networks, Solana, Bitcoin. You could do that right now with MetaMasks. Currently, it's in beta, but this is like opening the door for anyone. Let's say you're starting an L2. Let's say you have a security tool, a tax tool, gas estimation, transaction simulation, notification panel, dashboard. Come and build with our existing users. We have 30 million monthly active users. We want you to come and understand like what the ecosystem is about when you tap in with MetaMask. And that's a massive win for everybody. That's a massive win for users, a massive win for the product itself, and also to kind of create this ecosystem where there's kind of like a decentralized playing field of applications, like like a DApp store, right? Like, I think that's what Apple did really well when they launched iOS. They launched the App Store and they let people come and build inside of their product after about a year. And I think that like that's like an ultimate win, especially in a DeFi space. Like, we don't consider anyone competition, right? Like, we think that there should be more builders, more people coming in and building out. This is the same retrospect that we took when we were at WalletGuard. We didn't look at security tools as competition. The more, the better. The more, the better in the space. The more people coming in, the better. So, staying open, building it with other dApps in the space, and kind of like leveling everybody up at the same time is in the end going to convert to a very successful message, successful environment, and it's going to give people the ability to build with us. And I don't think a lot of products can say that, especially when it comes to the industry that we're in, or specifically speaking about wallets. So I look at wallets as eventually being an operating system, meaning, right now, we're dealing with usernames and emails and passwords and a lot of Web 2 infrastructure. But now, if you're talking about what we're doing with MetaMask and MetaMask Snaps, we're going to have an environment where we've abstracted away the security layers. We've abstracted away the functionality of having to switch chains or change RPCs or wonder what you're about to sign or what you're about to, interact with. And we're only going to be able to do that if we're building with other people, if we're opening up that ecosystem and kind of, not taking everything to the approach of building it internally, which again, like we would be shooting ourselves in the foot as far as like resources go, because we would be spreading ourselves very thin. So it's a win-win. Let's connect developers with grant programs. Let's make sure that everyone's on the same page when it comes to the user experience, right? Like that's like a major part of it. And if we do that, then everyone wins. Everybody's going to benefit from the product. Everyone's going to benefit from the environment that we're building. And I think MetaMask Snaps is really like a game changer to get that done.
Wow.
Absolutely. I really think it's cool the way that y'all are kind of like you were saying, building that app store for, this ecosystem and that type of thing. So suppose you're somebody that they have an idea for a snap. Like, what does that process look like? How do you actually get started with that? Actually, Ash and I have been talking about one idea that I have that I won't say on air, but I'll share with you later on. But if you have an idea for that, how do you actually get started in the process? What would you recommend there?
Yeah, I would say if you check out, go to MetaMask's website, there is an area for Snaps and Snaps documentation. You could take a look at a couple of different ways to start building on Snaps, and then let's get you connected to our team. There's a form that you fill out. You put in a bunch of different details about what you're trying to build, and we put you in a group chat. Excuse me, we put you in a group chat. Try to work with you. There might be some API that you need to connect to with us that we're not making available yet. Like, let's make it available. We want to like handhold and get to the point where builders can understand like what the functionality is and what the potential implementation could be. And that really opens the door for even more ideas. So definitely check out MetaMask Snaps, the MetaMask Snaps documentation. It's all on the MetaMask website. And if you're interested in building, there are links there to get started and also to, fill out a form and get connected directly with us so that we could, show you what's possible and kind of like build with you, like not just like say, oh, hey, here it is. Good luck. Like, no, we're here to help. Like we want you to be successful, because if you're successful, we're successful.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, honestly, like, I feel like even though I haven't had a chance to meet like Mario and Christian, for example, from the Snaps team, like I feel like I could just pick up the phone and like message them, which is like kind of rare, right? Like this is a $1 billion company, and all of the people that want to help you is kind of like accessible, right? I think we all know of like even like $100,000 company that you'll like DM them and you'll be like you'll be just disappeared. That message will be unread for like weeks or months on time. So it is kind of special that we had a chance to do this. So like I gotta ask, like also on so it's really funny you mentioned the iOS kind of approach and the App Store, right? Because it's like Steve Jobs was famously like anti-App Store, but then he like relented and then made it like, and it became one of the biggest successes that propelled iOS forward, right? And MetaMask has adopted this strategy. Is one of the strategies for MetaMask is that we build an OS that's not only just having all the native protocols embedded in it, but it also enables interoperability with every single chain there is. So it's like a user can pick their journey via, the MetaMask route better than that of like another wallet's route. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. I mean, look, the end goal is, let's say in a year from now that you don't have to have, 5 separate wallets and 10 different security extensions and a dashboard and a panel and like things all over the place. Like, that could all be in one environment. That could all be easily enabled and disabled, right? You want to toggle a snap on, you're good to go. And that's a win for the user, because that makes the entire onboarding process 10,000 times easier. It makes it so that they don't have to keep track of a million different variables. And if we're able to, like I was talking about before, abstract away the concept of having to switch chains or having to worry about security, again, it's the user that's benefiting. We actually just released last week a small update to MetaMask where if you have multiple tabs open and you have a Arbitrum dApp open in one and you have a Polygon dApp in another and an Ethereum dApp in another, as you switch tabs, you no longer have to change networks. MetaMask is automatically changing those networks for you. So small changes like that to get to the point of true interoperability are like what the point is, right? Like, we want to be able to have the wallet handle a lot of the heavy lifting. We want the wallet to handle the workload so that the user is just navigating Web3. And even if they get to the point of trying to mess up, like, how can we make it so that they can't mess up? And
Yeah.
these small updates that we're releasing, I wish I could tell you guys what's coming, because we have been cooking and it's going to be crazy.
Nice.
But these updates that we've been releasing all come down to the fact of like increasing that user experience. And I think that's how you get to the point where you have a wallet that people are recommending by default when they onboard someone new into the space, right? And they also have conviction in it, and they're also champions of that product because they know that it's the most secure wallet. They know it's the most privacy preserving wallet, which is a huge thing. There are some wallets out there that are not open source. We're open source. There are some wallets that don't let you opt out of usage statistics submission or usage metric submission. We give our users the ability to opt out. We are very concerned about your data privacy, and also understanding like that you have the option as a user if you want to do certain things. So with that formula, and then combining it with what we're doing with all these other builders, we should be geared up and lined up to be that wallet, and to be that environment where, like I said before, you don't need a million different extensions installed. You just have it in one lightweight, open source, locked down environment that anyone can tap into, anyone can build, and you could literally activate any chain and do whatever you need to do, instead of at the point where we're at now, which is you have a folder on your phone of 10 different applications. You have your extensions bar in your Chrome browser is like 10,000 like items long. Like, that's a problem that needs to be fixed, and I think we're really geared towards doing that.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely. I will attest that I am constantly having to go in because I don't like to see so many icons in my Chrome. So I'm constantly going to the enable extension. Okay, I have to do something in Bitcoin. I'm going to switch this one on. And so having Snaps just makes it so much easier. So I love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't open my Chrome unless it's like Monday through Friday. This shit feels like I feel like even if I open it just look at YouTube, I'm like, this just feels like way too much work already. Because it's like everyone has that. You have like 10,000 fucking tabs open. You don't know where this fucking tab is, and it's like, I'm like, how? Is it worth the 15 minutes to have to sort through to make this transaction happen? Fuck it, let's just lose the money.
And look, that's like another thing that we did with WalletGuard. Like, when you're using WalletGuard, we actually double check to see if your wallet extensions are out of date, right? Like, because that's something that people just don't think about, like updating their browser extensions, because your browser doesn't do it automatically. It does it on a scheduled task. It might do it once a week, but the reason why updates are released is because they address security issues. So when those updates are released, we want our users to know immediately. And if we get to the point of kind of, abstracting that away as well, then the user, again, is just enjoying using the environment. This is something that I think was super important when I was running my IT companies. So, when I was younger, 12, 13 years old, like, I was like the IT kid, like, my parents and my family, they'd ask me questions, and my friends in school, they would ask me questions. And it was a lot of the same questions. It was like, hey, like, why is my computer slowing down? Why are there so many different updates? What antivirus should I use? What VPN should I use? Right? Like, so we built an environment that all those questions are answered out of the box. You don't have to ask them again. Right. Like, and that's how you get to the point of people loving the product and really growing with it. Right. So we have to make it as smooth of an onboarding process as possible. We can't make it feel like a lesson plan or something that is like, 5,000 steps to get anything done, which is what crypto is right now. It's a process of, set up an exchange, get verified, connect your checking account, move your money in, wait for it to settle, buy your crypto, understand, creating the difference on an on-chain wallet, the security behind a seed phrase, a private. We need to abstract away all those things. We need to make it 1 to 2 clicks to get to the point of interacting with dApps and being on chain. And I think another step that we're taking towards this is we're actually just launched the MetaMask debit card. We're partnered with MasterCard, and we're doing a pilot program in UK and Europe right now with about 5,000 users. And think about how many layers that removes from the equation. If you want to use your on-chain assets at a coffee shop, or to pay your rent, or to pay a bill, you now don't have to send the money to an exchange, sell it for your, fiat currency, wait for it to settle, move it to your checking account, wait for that to settle. This is instant access to your on-chain assets. So if we keep on building, this environment where anyone can build anything, connecting grants with developers, making an operating system of an environment, abstracting away the concept of switching chains, making it easy to tap into your assets in the Web2 environment. Now we're creating a game-changing adoption rate. Now we're creating an adoption rate that's actually going to be a lot smoother, and users are not going to be dealing with the hardships that we've dealt with over the past decade in crypto.
That's another clip right there. Like, I gotta ask also, like, dude, when is the grand unveil? Like, are you guys gonna throw some MetaMask conference? Is there gonna be a Consensys to rival Consensys conference? Like, like what is the deal here? Like, what is the thing?
Yeah.
When are we gonna be the grand unveiling of this thing? I know that like there's a bunch of people. Me and Rashad and the team would love it. I know Luke would love it too because he has like a bunch of brilliant ideas around snaps. Like, when is this happening? When can we see it go from beta to like it's out there, bro?
Yeah, we're definitely cooking. Like, security is a big side of it. We want to be able to make sure like all these snaps they're sandboxed in their own environment, and no one can like manipulate something to basically affect the user in a negative way. When it comes to like events, I want to give a big shout out to the Consensys events team and what they've been doing. Every single conference, they have different activations. Actually, we just did a Builder Nights event here at KBW. It was very successful. We had game-changing people coming into the space, and this is about being open with it, right? Like, we're not saying, oh, this is Consensys and Consensys only. We're saying like, hey, anyone, come, let's do a panel. Let's talk about the future of Web3, right? Like, this is not a shill. This is a open environment so that we could build together. And if everyone takes it with that approach, like, that's game changing. So we just did the Builder Nights event. We're going to be doing a Builder Nights event at Token 2049. We have a massive event for Linea at Tel Aviv on the 18th. We're going to be, doing a bunch of different things there. But I think, like, again, building in public is super important, and I think that's what Consensys does really well. We're if you're going to a conference, we're probably going to have an event at that conference. We're probably going to be doing an announcement. We're going to be, releasing another feature, or we're going to be announcing something else. So definitely make sure, if you guys are going to Token, or anybody that's watching this, I don't know when you guys post this, but definitely make sure you guys tap into the events that we're doing and really meet up with us, right? Like you said, like, even though we're such a highly valuated company, we respond to people. We get back to people. We want to build with you. The last thing that we want is for someone to send me or someone else on the company a DM and it never gets answered. Like, that's not a good look. And to be able to do that with such a large company, I think is like, it's something that you don't see often. And when I joined Consensys, within a few weeks, I was on a meeting with Joe Lubin, right? Like, that's like insane, right? Like, I'm literally on a meeting with Joe Lubin, like, talking about the future of MetaMask, the future of Consensys. And like, 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't even know what MetaMask was. Like, I hated NFTs. I didn't understand what was happening. But like, once I went down that rabbit hole, logically, it's the next evolution of everything, right? And I feel like anyone that wants to rub two brain cells together to understand what this is, you can never go back to Web 2. You're going to change your life. You're going to think differently, right? So when you have a company of people that are all on that same page, and you're scaling so quickly, and you're doing it with other people in the space, that creates an amazing formula for success. Like, that's how we get to the next level of what's coming down the line. So,
Dude, I can't wait to hang out with you in Singapore.
hell yeah.
We're gonna link. By that time, I think that you'll see some of the cool shit that we've done too, and I can't wait to put it in your hands. So that way you can be like, "Hey, yo,
Yeah.
like this shit was just like on the fucking. It was just crayons and toilet paper, literally at Nashville, and here you guys are, like, you've shipped this entire thing."
Yeah.
Dude.
No, dude, it was honestly like amazing running into you in Nashville, bro. Like, things happen for a reason, and you build,
Yeah.
right? Like, love it.
Yeah,
love
of course. Yeah. The universe puts everyone where they're supposed to be. You just don't know why or how yet. You're just supposed to be there. You haven't figured it out yet, but the answers reveal themselves after that moment passes, right? So
Definitely.
like, dude, I can't wait to see you in Singapore. Like, I gotta ask, like, how do people find you? What is the best way to reach you? Any one of our listeners, like, dude, like, this is the guy you should. You maybe you know Joseph Lubin, okay? Maybe you know Lubin, but like, I would say I would go talk to Michael instead, bro. Like, you
Wow,
know,
wow, wow. Okay, okay,
yo, it's high
okay.
praise. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
dude, I've chopped it up with this guy now a couple of times. I'm like, dude, I would say talk to this guy. So how can people find
Greatly
you?
appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I'm on Twitter, dropping security knowledge. I'm making sure that people know how to stay safe, and also, I like to show you guys what we're doing, what we're building. So I'm on Twitter, michaelk.eth, michaelkdcl. There's a lot of fake michaelk.eths. Make sure you're following the right one. You'll see the official WalletGuard logo right next to my name, verified. Follow me, shoot me a DM if you have any questions. Like I said, try to respond to everybody, and let's build together. Let's take this to the next level. If you want to build with Snaps, if you're interested in what we're doing, even with the MetaMask delegation toolkit, which is a whole nother thing, let's do it. Like, my DMs are open. Hungry. I hope you're hungry as well. And let's build together. That's what it's all about.
Dude, this is
Awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, this has been great. I really appreciate all the knowledge, like all the insight. I cannot wait to come back and do the edits of this because I'm going to learn more just hearing it all again. So this has been amazing.
Let's go. Now, really appreciate you guys for this stage, right? Like I said before, if there's any opportunity for me to speak anywhere, I'm going. And this stage is worth millions of dollars to me. So big shout out to you guys for letting me speak here today.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. If Northrop Grumman comes in for a sponsorship, I'm like, no, Michael and Consensus first. No matter what you
There you
say about
go.
the missiles, bro, it's Michael and Consensus first. So, but
Love
like,
it.
dude, like honestly, it's been fun. I'm glad that we could have a little like balanced talk of entertaining ourselves, but also being serious about the startup life and doing all this shit. Dude, I can't literally wait to see you in Singapore. I'm sure we didn't get a chance to talk about Korea, but I bet like Korea is probably just awesome right now. Actually,
Oh,
can
it's
you just
amazing.
quickly tell us about Korea? How crazy is it right now over there?
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. Like, there's tons of great people building great things. This is my second time in South Korea, and I love it. The culture, the food, the price of Ubers. It's just everything. Everything is really great. Like, you could do like 10 Uber rides a day and you're not even spending $100. But back in the
Wow.
States, you get an Uber ride down the street and it's $100 plus tip, plus tax, plus gratuity, plus additional breathing fee. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. So I just love it out here. Korean's amazing. Korea is amazing, and all the side events are just like legendary. I've been to some crazy side events, made some amazing connections, and I can't wait to build with them. Like,
Dude.
there's it's such a different feeling from traditional ETH conferences that we're used to, where everyone's just like shilling a token or shilling some exit liquidity for them, and that's at this point it's stale, and I think people are tired of it. So building solutions is the ultimate win, and I think there's a lot of people here, especially at Korea Blockchain Week, that are doing exactly that.
Next year, Luke, me and you, we're going to KBW, bro.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the ATX DAO podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. To learn more about ATX DAO, visit us at atxdao.com and follow us on X, Farcaster, and LinkedIn at ATX DAO. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.